Good morning and welcome to Soulbirth here on AWST Radio Australia. Look who's beside me. Are you ready? Are you chipper? Are you excited about the day?
I'm always ready and excited about the day, Aaron.
Yeah, you might be talking that up just a tad, but never mind. Great, of course, to have Faye next to me here for Soulbirth. You've got notes and...
Oh, look, well, I always just like to...
I know, you pretend.
I never look at them, though.
No, but it makes you... Psychologically, you're ready, right?
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Got to look official.
Look at this too. You've got this great wall of books as well.
I know.
You're faking it. I mean, look, people are going to think that you read and you're intelligent and stuff. And you're taking knowledge. What's going on?
Oh, dear me.
You're breaking the whole system.
So I am, and anyway, this is good because I'm sure the readers, the viewers can actually see what we're talking about today.
Well, okay. What might that possibly be? Is it a bit of a hint?
It's a little bit of a giveaway.
Does it sort of say Waterbirth?
It does.
It does. See, I can even read the back of the book. Look at me go.
You can. There you go.
Look, welcome everybody. If you've got any comments or questions, jump on board. And I've already seen someone's doing that, which is always wonderful. Thank you very much. From the World Wide Awake Business Network. Look at that. Hello there. Can't wait to learn today. I learn every single time because I don't know if you know this. I know that, I've got the body of an 8-month pregnant woman, but it's not a bad thing. Anyway, but what I'm getting at is, okay, granted, I've never had a baby, so I learn something every week. I've been there. I've been part of the process. I've done my bit, but like this is every single week I learn something new is what it comes down to.
That's good. Hopefully the people out there watching this also learning a few things, and it's great to have their feedback as well. So if you've got any questions about today's topic, please drop it in the chat because this is a really interesting topic that not everybody knows about, and it's another option for birth that is a really beautiful, positive option.
Very, very true. Now, we can't see all the comments that come on, so always a good idea to come through. I believe that the best ones are through our Facebook page or the YouTube page. If you aren't members of those, if you could like and share and do all those YouTubey things, that will certainly help us out. But also, it makes it easier for us to see your comments. So there we go. All right, enough of me yapping on. A little misprepared there. Let's talk about Waterbirth.
Well, Waterbirth is a big passion of mine because 2 out of 4 of my kids have been born in the water.
That's 50%.
50%, yes. And because my first one was born, it was just a normal dry birth. I like to call them dry birth now that I've had water births. And then I was lucky enough to have 2 water births. And then I had, it was in the shower. So didn't have a water birth. So it actually made me really appreciate how much a water birth actually makes a difference.
In the shower, doesn't that not count? I mean, come on, it's close enough. And there's water involved.
No, because, that is good because it brings up what is the definition of a water birth. So
see, I did that on purpose.
You did, did you? No, you didn't.
All right, okay, so what is the definition of a water birth?
Well, so it doesn't matter if you're in the shower, it's not a water birth.
Okay.
But a water birth is actually when you're submerged in warm water. So and some women labour in there, you go through the birthing process, but then opt to get out, when it's actually time to give birth because they just feel more comfortable. It's a real go with the flow kind of
I can imagine
with all of birth because you may plan to birth in the water. And then when it comes to it, you don't actually feel comfortable to stay there, so you opt out. And then other women won't plan to have a water birth, but then at the last minute they want to get in there for the pain relief, and then they stay in there and can't get out. I was going to ask you about the pain relief. Okay. I mean, look, I know myself, if I've been in the swimming pool too long and I start to look like an 85-year-old man, does this kind of happen as well in the, Well, no. One of the big things that, way back when I had my first baby, second one, the one that was my first water birth, I was lucky enough because I was in Melbourne at the time and it was at a freestanding birth centre because before this I didn't even know about water birth. Like I'd never heard about it.
I'd seen it on TV.
Yeah. But back when I had my first, because that was, when I had been in WA and then I went to New Guinea and there was no such thing as water birth.
Gotcha.
And so when I was introduced this, because it was through this freestanding birth centre with an independent midwife, and I was just really lucky that my independent midwife was leading up at study in water birth.
That's good timing.
Uni. Yeah, her and my backup midwife, they actually did a study in water birth.
Did she introduce the idea to you or was it something you already had?
No, she introduced it because I had no idea. But where I chose to birth at the Hawthorn Birth Centre, which no longer exists, unfortunately, they had a tub and most of the people going there had a water birth. Okay. And so, and Annie, who was my midwife, she actually wrote this book, the first one you can see there, about water birth, and that was the collection of all the data that they and experiences of women that had birthed in water, and came up with the fact that to birth, in water, it's actually more sustainable. I don't know if that's the word, but you can stay in the water longer if you actually add salt to the water. Because just think, like if you sit in the normal bath for longer than like half an hour to an hour, you get wrinkly.
Yes.
You look like an 85-year-old. Sorry to 85-year-olds out there, but
Oh,
I'm starting to get that way
doing all
myself.
right. Yeah.
But the longer you stay in fresh water, the more wrinkled you become. Whereas when
okay.
you put salt in the water, you don't wrinkle.
I knew about all the therapy side of the salt. I mean, it's so
Mhm.
good for your body in so many ways, and
It is.
there's saline and there's so much to it, right?
Yep.
But I didn't realize anything about the wrinkles.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're in the ocean, you can stay in the ocean for as long as you like, and you don't get wrinkly.
See, I didn't know that because I hate the ocean. Well, no, I'm very keen on the sitting on the beach bit like that. The salt water and the waves and the sea. No, just not me.
No, but it's it's to do with the osmosis, or to do with the way the body works and drawing water in and out and whatever.
okay.
But we become more edematous. Our skin pulls water through, and we become edematous. And
Right.
so what happens with the perineum if you don't have perineum is down there, which is stretching up when you're giving birth, and if you are sitting in water without salt, that gets really swollen because it just is more fluid.
Right.
So
okay.
you're more likely to have a longer labour and tear more if you've kind of waterlogged.
No way.
Whereas when you put salt in the water, it actually takes all that away. So,
now I joked before about learning something every time. I have absolutely learned something. I did not know that at all.
Go.
There we go. Saltwater rinse tea. What's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, salt in life, okay, and we often talk about, obviously, we've got Kat here from Salt Room who comes in once a week as well, right? And she's always talking about the therapeutical benefits, and I think and I go there, so I know it's definitely a go. It's fantastic, but I've never thought about it in a birth setting. That's kind of cool.
Absolutely, and the composition of amniotic fluid is more like salt water than normal regular water, tap water. So a baby's less likely to have any complications coming into water that's slightly salted than if it's just normal water.
I mean, of course, the baby's born in fancier neighbourhoods. They're born in Evian, of course, but is that how it works?
No. No, but it's interesting because all the education around Waterbirth, because for when you're working as a birth worker in the hospital, your education actually says you should never put anything else in the water.
Okay.
So you're not supposed to put essential oils or anything else, and they don't even suggest putting salt in the water. But it's been proven that when you put salt in the water, it actually makes a difference to the outcomes.
Okay. Asking on that front then, the essential oils, okay, people rave about them. I've always thought they were just a bit of weird stuff that doesn't just smells good. No, but I mean that. And then the last few years I've discovered I am totally wrong. They are bloody brilliant. And every time I've used them for anything, they work. They just work.
They do.
So I just thought it was a vanity thing and it smells nice and
it's
cool,
very therapeutic. But they've got to be essential oils, not aromatic oils, because aromatic oils are chemical based. They're not essential oils.
I didn't know that either. No. There we go.
Wow, we're only 5 minutes into the show.
That's the end of the show. I've learned enough. I'm done. But I didn't know. I mean, I knew there were different qualities of oils, but I didn't know that aromatic means that it's chemical based.
Well, it's not, because essential oils look, you could do a whole show on essential oils, but essential oils are the pure oil that is extracted from the plant, distilled from the plant. So you get the pure essential oil, and there's different grades of it. So that's a huge area, and maybe we'll do that one day.
Maybe we should. Okay, but so hospitals are against you putting any of that in there?
Mainly because, like any other time, I always put essential oils in a bath myself because it's relaxation. It helps with all the pain relief in labour. But if you're going to birth in the water, it's more because if there's oils in the water, then the baby's coming up through the water, and if their eyes are open, whether it's going to affect their eyes. That's the whole sole reason.
Okay, so is a reason or a theory, or is it just
Well, it's because if the baby's getting essential oils directly into its little sensitive eyes when it's being born, then
that brings me to a different subject, but work
really
with me here.
fancy that. Not car racing.
No, it's not car racing.
My gosh.
No, but it's something I know a fair bit about as well. Photography. Okay, and flash photography. Excuse me, joking. Cough. But flash photography. So many people, when a baby's born, everyone gets very excited. Snap. Now, less of an issue these days, of course, with camera phones, because you use a lot less flash. But please be incredibly careful. Don't use flash photography with babies.
Exactly.
It's so negative and so poor for them. And I believe now, I used to know the science of this like 30 years ago, so it's probably out of date. But they say for the first 6 months to keep away from flash photography.
Yeah, well, their little eyes are so sensitive, and bright lights. It's the same as being born out into bright lights. Like fluoro lights, a bit like the studio being lit up. When a baby's born, with bright lights, its poor little eyes are so sensitive.
That's so true.
So, coming out of the dark womb out into bright lights is, bit taxing on the system.
Oh, we've all done it with a hangover, let's face it. You walk out there and into the next day and everything hurts. So I can't imagine if you've had a 9-month hangover.
Yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, but when they come out into a dim lights and beautiful warm watery environment, it's just beautiful for the baby as well.
Totally agree.
Gentle birth.
And that comes down to the thing you said before as well about dimming the lights, right? I mean, I didn't know that was an option. And I think that's such a massive thing. Bit of music, right? A little dim of the lights, it's probably how the baby came into the world in the first place. But
yes, exactly.
But at this end, so to speak, I mean, it's just set the mood, right?
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
a nice way, come into the world into a really positive way.
Well, for the mother and the baby, because the mother as well, to be able to drop into that beautiful birthing space as well, to shut the lights down a bit, because bright lights like this, who's really going to be in the mood for actually going within? So when we actually dim the lights, we've got less of this sensory overload outside of us, and we can go within and actually be in the process of birth.
Yep.
And then so the mother feels more relaxed, and she drops into that beautiful hypnotic state that she needs to be connected with her body and her baby. And then when the baby emerges into the world, it's nice to be just, kind of a gentle transition from the womb to the world without these like bright lights and noise and everything.
So true. And you think about, I mean, I know the traditional hospital birthing suite, and it looks like, something from ER. I mean, it's bright, and it's too bright.
Yeah, it's not really the right scene for a baby.
No. I mean, they've made it a lot better over the years, no question about that, with making the rooms just more pleasant. But, ultimately, very, very simple, inexpensive things, a little bit of, quiet little tunes in the background, bit of mood lighting, fantastic.
And they do have dimmer switches in all the rooms now, so you just know that there is a dimmer switch and you can turn it down. So
see, I didn't know that, and I mean, I think about I think when my first son was born, I mean that was a very modern hospital. I mean the hospital was only like literally 2 months old or something when he was born. St. John of God in Murdoch. So just showing the age of my son right now. He's about to turn 30 very, very soon. There you go. Just how old do I feel right now? But yeah, I don't remember. There was just no options for any of that. And funny enough, I don't remember when the lighting. I remember it being quite bright and kind of fluorescent. And
but a lot of things have changed over the years, because from when I did my midwifery training, back in 87, that was a long time ago. And everything was a lot more clinical and sterile and noisy and bright. And some places haven't changed. They're still like that, but other places are a lot more progressive. And, they've made sure that, you do have dimmer switches on the lights. You do have curtains across the equipment, so it's not intrusive of the space. You do have permission, if to ask to shift furniture around, put the mattress on the floor, to change the environment to suit yourself.
I love the fact that we're here in a position to actually tell women this, okay, and their partners, to insist on this. If this is a big experience in your life, and make it as comfortable as you possibly can. But we from TV, from movies, all that, even something I was watching about 2 days ago, it's all just, I don't know, nerves and tension and stress, which doesn't really have to happen. Having babies is not new. We've been doing this for a while now.
Exactly,
right?
And we don't want the stress and the tension. We want to actually drop into that beautiful flowing state, because if we're stressed, we've got the adrenaline going, which, as I've said before, works in opposition to what we need for birth.
It does.
We need to relax and have all the oxytocin flowing through and the endorphins, the feel-good hormones.
We do. Can we actually, may I just tell you, we have someone naughty in the background right now.
Do we?
Yes, backstage, someone is naughty there.
Oh, really?
They're snuck in on the broadcast, but they might be playing hooky. They might actually be sick at home, but I do see them sneak up there. So hello to Lisa at home. Always, Lisa is such a wonderful, what's the word? I was going to say an asset, but such an important part of the family here at Edge. So good to see you there, helping out in the background. But having said that, go get some rest. Yeah, get some rest, get some sleep. You're not well.
Exactly.
Make the most of it, right? Play hooky as long as you can get away with it. That's what I think. Now, more questions coming through on the other destinations we cannot see. So, if you have questions coming through, it does look like it's the best to come through YouTube. Or the World Wide Awake Business Network YouTube page is a good one. Obviously, through Edge's Facebook page, all these different places.
Exactly. And somebody out there might be wondering, why would a woman choose to have a water birth?
What a great question. I wish I'd thought of that. Well, but actually, all jokes aside, why? Because, all right, again, we go with the narrative of news and media and movies and which seems to be kind of really against it.
Yeah,
right?
because it all feeds into the fear again, because there's so many, misconceptions out there about water birth, you know, because from people that haven't done the research and don't actually understand it, have never attended a water birth, never been there and experienced water birth and actually understand it.
Agreed.
But, from a physiological perspective, once you understand what's going on, then you can overrule all those misconceptions.
Well, yeah. I mean, the baby is in liquid right there,
Exactly.
right? So
it's floating around in the womb in the amniotic fluid for 9 months, hopefully 9 months, full amount. And then so for them to come out into another watery environment is so natural.
Yeah.
And, especially if it's the same sort of made up of the same composition, as the amniotic fluid or quite similar.
Okay.
But it should be room temperature. Sorry, not room temperature, body temperature.
Okay.
So as close to 37 degrees as you can.
Oh, wow.
That's body temperature. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 36.
Jeez, that's spa territory.
Yeah, so you need it warm because this whole thing, one of the biggest misconceptions is, won't the baby drown?
Yeah, no, I've heard that one. Yes.
It's not going to drown because it's in fluid already.
Yeah.
And it's getting all its oxygen and nutrients through the umbilical cord.
Sure.
And as we've talked about before, the baby's not going to start breathing through its mouth until it takes a breath. And it's not going to take a breath until it comes out into the cooler air. So when it comes out under the water, it's not going to start breathing because it's warm water. So that's why it's important to have the warmth.
So how long can you stay under the water, so to speak?
Indefinitely. I know in Russia they did a lot of studies a while back.
Right.
And actually this book in the end here, Dolphins, Telepathy and Underwater Birthing is a great read.
Okay.
And it's all about, there's a connection with dolphins as well, which I probably won't go into today because we won't have time. But it does have a lot of information about, babies staying underwater for a long period. And even though I don't recommend just keeping them under there just for the sake of it, but there's no rush to bring them up either. Because like when I had my first water birth, my daughter was born underwater. She was born in the caul, which was just amazing because that's a sign of good luck. What does that mean? It means the waters haven't broken.
Oh,
so it's still in the amniotic sac. Yeah.
Wow.
So she emerged underwater. Okay. Yeah, it's caul birth. So, CAUL, and sailors used to think that's a sign of good luck.
There you go. Wow.
Yes, so she came out in the caul and we had to end up breaking the waters to bring her out into the water, and she just floated underwater and just looking up at me through the water for, quite a few minutes. There was no rush. She was just quite happy floating there, just looking at me. His cord was still pulsating because she was getting her oxygen and everything from there. It was just beautiful. I've got a photo of her at that stage, and it was just a beautiful photo.
Now, look at the way you explain that as it being such a beautiful thing, right? So what we've been, again, sold is it's this terrifying thing that's all going on, right?
I know.
And to me, my perception of water birth before was you get that baby out of that water as quickly as possible, right?
No.
Well, that's kind of what I was taught by society, I guess.
I know. Again, through fear.
Yeah, fear.
Fear that the baby's going to drown.
Only I knew a midwife at the time. But it's, knowledge is power. And I mean, a big reason why we sit here and we talk about these things is because, I mean, I think about the amazing amount of things I've learned from you over the time that we've been doing this. And I thank you. I mean, my baby milk and days are over, but if it can inspire others, and like if women out there can actually feel comfortable about the fact they've got more decisions that they can make, they're empowered, and as I say, their partner, their husband, to be in that position to empower them as well.
Exactly.
Why not? Like,
and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's education, empowerment, options, knowing what your options are, and knowing that water birth now is quite a common thing.
Sure.
See, back when I had my first one, that was 33 years ago.
Okay.
So let's talk about who's getting old.
There you go.
That was my second.
I was a child bride, so
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it was only it wasn't a known thing. Like here in Perth, it wasn't even existent.
Right.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
And so this is in Melbourne, and Melbourne's always at least 10 years ahead of Perth.
In some things.
Yeah, but it was only done in a few circumstances like home birth or in this freestanding birth centre. And I think there was one hospital that had a birthing unit that was very progressive at the time, and they had the water birth there. Okay. And so, it wasn't a well-known thing, whereas now it's become quite common. And so now some of the hospitals are allowing it over here, allowing don't like that. But it's had to go through a lot of red tape and a lot of, backwards and forwards because of, trying to get the doctors on board and the paediatricians especially because, they were the ones that saying, the baby will drown. There's all these issues, blah, blah, blah. But, when you actually understand what happens physiologically with water birth, then it's like, well, no.
No.
I mean, there are still protocols around it because if you've got a high-risk birth,
Sure.
or like if it's extremely preterm, the baby, like if it's, extreme, under 37 weeks, I don't recommend it just because they're preterm and they, might be compromised anyway. Or if you've got, they say, in the hospital, they won't let you birth in the water if you've got twins or breech or, anything like that, just because they always class them as high risk, even though we know breech is not high risk. It's just a different type of birth. But, I think it's because, they put that in that category because underwater it's not as easy to see what's going on.
Gotcha.
But that's the beauty of it too. Part of water birth is that the woman is in this beautiful protected private space. And, you don't have full access to a perineum. You're not looking right down there.
That's a great point. The privacy, yeah, why not? Like, absolutely. It's a beautiful experience. Again, like, stop making it a medical experience. Make it a beautiful experience that it should be. And, yeah, look, privacy, let's face it. Like, no one, I've never been through childbirth from that point of view, but, like, whenever you go to hospital and you're having something obtrusive done or whatever, it's not fun.
No,
so
exactly. And you can be unobtrusive. Like as a midwife attending a water birth, we use a mirror. So, the woman can be in whatever position she wants in the water. And it's great because you've got freedom of movement in the water as well. It's really easy because you don't have gravity and all the effects of that. So you can float around and change position as much as you want. But as a midwife, we can get a clear view of what's happening because we use a mirror, a tiny little handheld mirror under the water and a torch. So the mum doesn't see any of that. You're just, unobtrusive underwater, just looking with a mirror and you can see exactly what's going on.
I'm being quiet only because of something that a friend's birth that they went through and there's mirrors involved and it got very, very weird.
No.
Yes. Just for someone's privacy, I won't go into it. But people get so strange about privacy, don't they? And that. So to me, I think this is a really nice way of getting around that.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful because, you don't need to be obtrusive in birth. We shouldn't be obtrusive because it's a very private and it is a, I suppose, sexual, sensual event because you're giving birth to a baby through your vagina. So, and the woman needs to be held in that space and feel protected and safe. She doesn't want strangers coming into the room, lights are glaring, open your legs, love, let's have a look. It's like, no. That's like abuse in a way. Well, the way it's handled sometimes without consent. Quite often this happens in the system without consent.
Yeah, there's no bedside manner to it.
No,
so
it's very consent rude. Is a big one, and the woman should always be involved in any decision making. They should be involved in consensual things, like anything that needs to be done. Should include her consent, like. To have a look. Can we see what's going on, whatever. But the thing about water birth that I love so much is that people leave you alone.
They leave you alone.
Because you're in a bathroom and people don't normally intrude on you in a bathroom because it comes across as a bit more private.
Yeah.
So they leave you alone and you can just get on with what you're doing.
Well, lovely comment here from Leanne. Leanne, thanks for your message here. I just wish I had known more about all this when I was younger. Back then, I completely relied on the doctors without questioning things. I'm so grateful I've woken up to a different way now.
Yeah.
How true is that? Well, I think we'd all, as I say, I've never been to the childbirth pity, but as far as on the other side, I was very involved, right? So, I absolutely adore my children and I want to look after their mums as much as possible because, it's obviously the person I love. So, like the more, I'm like you. I wish I knew more back in the day. But the thing
is, even though it wasn't around then, you might not have known it then, but you know now and you can pass it on to the younger generation. Right. So, as you become grandparents, your grandchildren or, your children going through birth, you can actually pass this knowledge on to them and help them to make an informed decision about the choices that are out there.
Just how old do you think I am? I don't have any grandchildren having babies, but all right, fine. Now,
it'll come, but you got to get the kids having babies first.
Yes, exactly. Next part of the process. And I won't last that long. Okay, this is a message from Lisa as well. Great to see these fantastic comments coming through.
Yep.
I am very glad you brought this up. Does it cost more to have a water birth?
No, not at all, Lisa.
There you go.
So, and it depends on where you're birthing as well, but the actual water birth component doesn't cost a cent more. Which is interesting. Thank you for bringing that up because, if you have an instrumental birth, so if you get a lot of intervention in birth and you end up with a vacuum extraction or a forceps delivery or anything like that, then they add on the cost usually. I'm not sure if you get added cost in the public system, but in the private system, every intervention and procedure actually adds to the bill, whereas water birth is not an intervention. It's actually a normal, natural thing.
I wondered about that. And talking about the cost, because I've never understood this. So my first son was born and it all went very, very well. Now, he was born in a private hospital with the top tier private cover that we could get. Okay, I don't know what it came with everything, but souffle for breakfast, right? But so all that. But anyway, when we left the hospital, they gave me this big bill. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then but for my other children who were born in the public system, funny enough, in private hospitals, but public system, how it all worked out.
Yeah,
but. No big bill.
No big bill. Isn't it?
Isn't it very interesting?
Yeah,
so that's something that people should do their research on. And say, Lisa, I appreciate you bringing up that, because now if people know that it's not, because I mean, I would have thought that it's going to cost more for a water birth.
No, not at all. It's just one of the options. And the thing is that if you have, if you use the water for while you're birthing, the whole process, and when women get in the water, it's like this instant relief. Any discomfort you're having, or, most women say it's pain, because it is painful, but it's how you process that pain. But every time a woman gets into the warm bath, there's a big sigh of relief. You see it. It's like, it's like that. And instantly their body relaxes. The endorphins and the oxytocins are released, and their body just goes into total relaxation mode. Makes sense. Everything can open up as it's meant to, And so then birth becomes quicker because you're not contracted and like in pain. So you're relaxing and everything opens and it can flow better. And you're less likely to need pain relief, medical or pharmaceutical pain relief. So you're not going to be needing pethidine, morphine, all those terrible things that have side effects for the baby, because they do pass through the placenta and go to the baby, and more likely to need resuscitation when they're born if they've had narcotics, if the mother has had narcotics during labour.
Right.
So it avoids that. You're less likely to need other pain relief, pharmaceutical pain relief, or interventions when you birth in the water. Right.
Another question from Lisa. I appreciate this very much. But I think we've already opened this door, so maybe I was a bit slow on the questions. Who knows? What about twins?
Yeah.
Would that be discouraged?
Oh, in the system, it's definitely discouraged because it's classed as a high risk birth. But then I do know people that have had home births with twins in the water, even though that, the system wouldn't back that at all. They'd say that shouldn't be done. But I know women do it, and, it depends on the midwife that's actually supporting them and how confident they are with that. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to, really, because it's two births, one after the other. And the ones that I know who've done it, it's been straightforward, just like normal birth, just one after the other.
Interesting. Okay. Twins, they're normally obviously smaller because otherwise they don't fit.
That's right. So, and they're normally preterm, which is the other thing. So, if you had twins at term, which is less likely,
right,
and everything was normal, a midwife might take that on. But but you've got to be careful there. And I can't guarantee, I can't say yes, you should do it, because in the rule book, if you like, they do discourage twins from being born in the water just because of all those extra things, that they are usually smaller and earlier and all those things.
I discourage twins if you want to keep your hair.
Tell you what, sanity.
My brother and sister-in-law had twins, and
so beautiful. I love twins. It's so beautiful.
And these two kids are absolutely gorgeous. Little red ringlets, both of them, little matching set, boy and girl, but with matching hairdos. Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool. I say that they're growing up now, but never mind. All right. Well, geez, we've covered a few. Now, the books that we've got in front of us, this is a bit of essential reading, I guess.
Oh, yeah. If you're planning to have a water birth, then I'd certainly recommend the one in the middle there by Janet Velasquez. That's commonly, you can get hold of those at the library or on Amazon, I guess, or any bookstore. Sure. But that's a really great book on water birth. She's probably got a more up-to-date edition by now, because that was one of my originals. And the other one, I'm not even sure if you can get it, the Dolphins, Telepathy and Underwater Birthing. That's next level. That's another whole thing. If you're wanting to go into the spiritual realm around, how babies communicate, in the water with dolphins and with the mother, which is totally my realm, because that's what I'm all about.
So have a water birth up at Monkey Mire. Got it.
Well, somebody I know has.
Okay. Well, hang on. In the water or in
the water? Yeah.
Like actually,
it's really interesting, because dolphins actually dolphins are like the natural midwives of the sea, because they tend to come in and they really got this connection with pregnant women. Whenever pregnant women, if a pregnant woman is in the water with the dolphin will come up, and because they use ultrasound, and they're communicating with the baby.
No way.
Yeah, and in Russia or different places, they've done birthing in the Red Sea, I think. That's all in the book. It's a bit rusty with it now, but
that's why it's red.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, you're good, aren't you? Sometimes. But anyway, they've had instances documented where dolphins have come around when women are birthing in the sea, and they actually protect the space. So they're like the sacred space holders in the ocean.
That's so cool.
Because they keep sharks away and any other predators that might be out there, but creating this beautiful sacred space, like a sanctuary for the birth to happen, and then they're kind of communicating with the babies at the same time. So it's interesting reading if you get hold of that book.
Yeah. All right. Well, what silly questions have I not asked here?
No,
I mean, is there
ask away.
No.
What questions have you got?
Oh, no. I'm good with the questions. I'm more sort of pointing the spotlight at you. Is there anything else that you'd rather or you'd like to bring forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, all the benefits of, I think I've mentioned some already. So the benefits of water birthing, or even labouring in water, like even if you don't choose to stay in there to birth, is the instant pain relief. So as soon as you get in, the total discomfort disappears, and we get total relaxation and opening up, and we can drop into our space. Much better. And then also the pain relief side of it. So you're less likely to need pharmaceutical kind of analgesia, not needing epidurals, whatever. You're more likely to stay in that space, that zone, and create that, bubble of protection around you. You're less likely to be interfered with, or, to have people coming into the room because you're in your private space, which is great. Most women have a shorter labour when they birth in the water.
Really?
Yeah, because of that relaxation and opening up. So they're not tense and, actually causing obstruction or anything.
Look, all these things that you've taught me over this time, like as far as the different positions that women can be in, which will take physical pressure off them, and I mean, you just think about it. I mean, this process, you'd want the body to open as much as possible. Why wouldn't you take every endeavour to take all the steps that you can?
Exactly, And the other big one is the movement, because we've got more freedom of movement in the tub. So generally the birthing tubs are quite deep, so that you can be submerged up to like breast line, really, or just under. So basically you need your belly covered, because one of the things with water birth, you've got to make sure that you're not half in, half out, because if the baby starts to come out when you're actually not submerged and the air touches the baby's skin, it can be stimulated to take a breath. And then if you're out and then you duck back under, you might have stimulated the baby to breathe, and it goes under. That's when you can have a problem. So when they were doing this practice in the hospitals when they weren't quite sure of it, and they would pull the plug on a woman who's birthing in the water, because, you can't birth in the water, you have to get out. And so they'd pull the plug on her. And that's way more dangerous, because if the water's kind of leaving the bath and the baby's emerging, and then, it gets stimulated to breathe because of the cold air on its skin, then it's more likely to have drowning.
But it makes sense, totally.
Exactly. So you've got to leave the woman in the bath or get her fully out, but don't ever do this practice of pulling the plug on her, because that's actually dangerous.
So like best practice is to use the actual birthing tub that they, do you hire these things? How does that work?
Well, if you're actually in the
I'm sure
hospital
you haven't
or
got one
birthing
at home ready to
centre,
go, right?
well, you might do. Sometimes you've got the tub. But, the idea is that in the birthing centres and hospitals that have them, they're already there, and they're built in a particular way so that you've got full access around at least 3 sides, because in the event that anything happens and you need to evacuate the woman, you have to be able to have access to be able to lift her out. Because if there's a hemorrhage or something and she needs to get out of the bath and she's not able to do it herself, you need to be able to hoist her out. And at home, you can hire blow-up tubs to put in your lounge room. So my friend Lisa Chalmers, she does Simply Birth pools, and she hires them out or sells them to people. And they're great pools, and they don't take as much water either than as a normal spa bath.
So not the normal spa out the back?
No. And you don't want, if you've got a spa that you're using, just don't turn the bubbles on, because
I knew that. I did know that. Yes. As a man, one of the few times I've ever read the instructions.
Oh, really?
Is when I got the spa many years ago. I don't have it
That's
anymore.
unusual, isn't it, reading instructions?
I know. Exactly right. Exactly. Normally it's just to have a go and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
But Yeah, my poor spar's gone.
Oh no! Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah,
Oh no,
good.
that's
Do
no
miss
good.
it very much.
Yeah.
Never mind. But yeah, with that, yeah, I actually read, about don't use
Yeah.
the bubbles basically if you're pregnant,
Yeah.
and don't go over particular temperatures as well.
Exactly. And also the bubbles, the thing is because it sucks the water through the system and so when you're birthing, there's all a lot of debris ends up in the water, and especially after the birth, because you've got all the vernix coming off the baby, you might have blood going
what's
through.
vernix?
Vernix is all that thick white cream that's covered over the baby.
That's what's on that picture.
It's on that picture. That's right, because that's the moisturizer, if you like, that covers the baby when it's in utero and stops it from wrinkling up too, protects the baby's skin, and then the further they get through in pregnancy, the less of it there is because it gets absorbed into their skin. Right. So this is how you can tell if a baby's truly overdue or overcooked. It's in the oven, and when it comes out, when it's born, if it's covered in thick vernix, you know that it's definitely not overdue. And if it's all wrinkly, like there's no vernix left on it, and it's all wrinkly and looks like an old man, or old lady, whatever, then it could have gone overdue.
But your babies often do look like old people.
They do, but with or without the vernix. But like what I'm saying is, if they're inducing a baby because it's technically overdue, and then it comes out covered in thick vernix, it's like, well, that baby was nowhere near overdue. Wow.
Yeah, because when I was looking at that, I was going to actually ask you about that. So I looked at the picture that you popped up, and for those who want to have a look, it's on our Facebook page, it's Radio Australia page. Have a squiz, and we'll probably put it else in other places as well. But I was surprised because with my kids, I don't remember them having all of that white all over them. And so just trying to think, I think all my kids were about 2 weeks early.
Oh, really? Yeah. 2 weeks early. Okay.
Yeah, I think bang on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and weren't covered in all the white stuff.
Yeah, they would have probably had some.
Oh, yeah.
Because they usually have it under their armpits and in the groin area, in the creases and folds. Yeah, so but they've got that beautiful soft skin. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, but when they come out in the water, some of that comes off, and it doesn't have to. You don't have to wipe it off. That's another thing that people like to rub vigorously and wipe all the vernix off a baby. But it's like, I'll leave it on.
Well, you see it very differently, don't you?
I do. It's so good for them.
So leaving that on for a little bit of time, is that a positive thing for the baby?
Yeah, well, that all keeps them, their natural flora on there too, because they need their natural, we call it their biome, natural biome, which helps them for their infection control, if you like, to build their immune system.
Well, it's like breast milk, isn't it? And all the benefits of that. Obviously, not every woman can breastfeed, and but if you can, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
In every possible way. But there's all these things that are going to add to the safety and the health of your child, and building up that immunity. And as we have, all of us pretty much, certainly that watch this channel, know over the last 5 years, natural immunity, it's a thing.
It is. It's definitely a thing, isn't it?
So yes, definitely to be encouraged.
Exactly.
Well, do you have any other great bits of wisdom before we close the show off that you might want to impart?
Well, I was thinking if anybody out there is actually thinking of having a water birth or would like to find out more information about, how to go about it, do some research, and look, if you're booking in to go to a particular place to give birth, ask them whether they actually have that option available. And if they don't, and it's something really important to you, then start shopping around to find somewhere that will support you with water birth. You need to have a care provider who's quite comfortable doing water births, because you don't want them panicking and pulling the plug or anything like that. So you want somebody who's experienced in water birth and is actually happy for you to do that, and not going to be saying at the last minute, no, you can't.
I think the word used a moment ago about support. Someone who will genuinely support it.
Totally. And know that you can always bring your own water pool to another hospital. You just have to have all the connections and stuff. But that, if you buy or hire a blow-up pool from Simply Birth, then you will be able to take that in and set it all up, and it hooks up to the tap in the hospital to run the water into the tub. But you get all the stuff that you need there, so you can take it with you and set it up wherever you're planning to birth.
How about that? Jeez, you're organised, and people buy these. Yeah. Why not? If you plan to have a few kids, or for that matter, people buy a wedding dress, right?
Yeah, they do. And you get pool liners so that you can line the pool, and then you have to take it out. You throw the liner away later, so then you can just wipe the pool out and use it again. Get new liners for. That's why you can hire the pools too. So that you can just get new liners to put in existing pools and use them.
Makes complete sense when you really think about that, doesn't it? Okay, cool. All right, now, if I'm out there on the internet and I'm looking for things, and I decide, hey, I want to find out all about birth, how do I find you?
Well, contact me. I've got my website at soulbirth.com.au and all my contact details are there.
Yep.
If you want any more information about Waterbirth or anything to do with conception, pregnancy, birth, or parenting, or spiritual journeys, contact me, and I'd love to hear from you.
You've got it covered. Look at you. Fantastic. Hey, thanks for being part of Soulbirth here on Edge Radio Australia.
Thanks,